All right. Well, thank you guys all for being on today. I'm Linda Aivalotis, and I am a business coach, and I specialize in body language. So just listening to me for that is interesting enough, right? I think body language is one of the most interesting languages out there, and we all speak it, and we all listen to it and read it, but we don't always interpret it appropriately. So that's what today is about. It's about how to present yourself so that other people can interpret your message the way you want them to. All right, so right off the bat, we're going to start with interactive. I like to interact with my audience. We're not going to have a PowerPoint on this. It is all about connecting to the audience. All right, so when I say the word image, what comes to mind?
Logo.
Logo, okay.
A person.
A person.
How you look. How you look.
How you look, okay.
Your brand.
Your brand, okay. All right, so when I say the words personal image, what changes? What do you think about that?
Like
the way that you carry yourself.
Okay, and your clothing, I heard that.
And your character, integrity, all that inside stuff more.
Ooh, good, good. Any other things that come to mind with personal image? No? All right, so when I say brand image, what comes to mind?
Marketing.
Marketing. Oh, what else?
Logo.
Portray your
Logo.
business.
I'm sorry, Nora?
How you portray your business.
How you portray your business. Yep. All right.
Your total online persona.
Ooh, good. Very good. All right. So what would you say if I told you that you are creating all three of these? The image people will remember, the personal image people will notice or disregard, and a brand image or your prospect's impression of your company every time you get on a Zoom call. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the question here is the image you're creating via Zoom the image you want to create? No? Nora says no. All right. Okay.
I thought a little bit about this already.
Okay.
I was going to say probably not this morning while I was eating a Hot Pocket while you're talking, but.
Good point. Good point. All right. So you are and always have been a walking, talking image of your company, whether you work for a corporation or you work for yourself or you work for a small company, and that brand. Wherever you go, whatever you do, as soon as someone finds out where you work, you become your employer's marketing message. So corporations totally understand this. Employees and small business owners often don't. So here's a case in point. I know of someone, I'll call him Joe, who while wearing a company branded shirt went out after working hours and got completely obliterated. Someone involved in this same activity took photos of Joe in this state and put them on their own personal Facebook page. But Facebook being Facebook, these photos were shared and reshared and reshared until they reached a decision maker at Joe's company. Unfortunately for Joe, the logo was very distinct in these photos and Joe was fired. So it happens. Corporations are aware of the image we're creating when we're out there and we're branded by them. So you have always had a personal image or a personal brand, or sometimes it's called a personal style. And we tend to style our hair the same way for years. How many people have had the same hairstyle for 2 or 3 years? Forever? Okay, yeah.
It goes short and long, but it's always the same.
Yeah, parted on the same side. Yep. Yep, we do that. We tend to wear clothes in certain colors, and we tend to dress in similar ways on a daily basis. So if you're a man, you tend to see them in a suit and a tie, Or maybe they're the guy that wears the suit and no tie and leaves it unbuttoned at the top. As women, we wear a skirt and a blouse, or maybe we only prefer dresses. Sometimes we wear large patterns or small patterns or no patterns at all. So over the years, our choices and our preferences have created our own personal brand, intentionally or not. So I know a woman, and you know her too. Her hair is always perfectly styled. She wears large patterns, large jewelry, large hair. I've known her for years, and I've never seen her dressed any other way. And in my mind, her clothes fit her personality. She's boisterous and fun, and just like her clothes. She has created her own personal brand. And I won't tell you who she is. You just think about that. You probably know exactly who she is. So finally, we create an image by our very presence and surroundings. We're tidy or we're messy. We take up a lot of physical space or we stay close to our body. We frown or we smile. We talk loudly or quietly. In essence, we create an expectation of what someone is to expect from us when we walk into a room. An example of this is I know someone who is 6'7". He talks loudly and always has a great story to tell. He takes up 2 times his body mass in space. He's disorganized and tends to leave messes behind everywhere he goes. This is my expectation of him, and this is his image. So does anyone have any questions related to these 3 types of images? Because we need to be really clear before we go on. No? We're good? That always makes me feel good when there's no questions at that point. All right, so how does all of this relate to Zoom? So I think perhaps some people feel that because they are taking Zoom meetings from their homes, that these 3 images, your image, your personal image, and your brand image, are somehow suspended. That somehow as a society, we're going to take these 3 images and we're going to put them up on a shelf until the world is back to normal. And in the meantime, we don't need to bother to get dressed or comb our hair or put on makeup. We don't have to be attentive or even coherent. Because after all, it's just a Zoom call. This is so not the case. In fact, it's completely the opposite. We shouldn't be more lax. We need to be more vigilant. We are now holding business meetings in our home. Most of us have never done this before. Business meetings have always been meant to take place in an office or maybe a coffee shop or a restaurant, occasionally a golf course, but always away from where we live. Our home has been our respite, our place where we can let go and let out and not care about any of our images. Well, that's probably over forever. Virtual meetings, I believe, are here to stay.
Yay.
Yay! No driving. We don't have to drive now. So here's another.
I was driving all over the city.
That's right. That's right. So here's another set of questions. So if you're muted, go ahead and unmute yourself. What are some of the issues we have with holding business meetings in our home? Why haven't we ever done that?
Because it was just the way it wasn't done.
It wasn't done.
It's just, new things are hard.
Dogs and kids.
Dogs and kids, yes.
And spouses. My husband works from home too.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
also our personal space. I mean, this is our personal space. And to open that up, even if you do have a home office, you know, to open that up on a daily or weekly basis to 20, 30 other people, although it's okay because they're all doing the same thing, but
Right.
it wouldn't probably be our first go-to
Right.
before
So,
we
but
Well, there's so much vulnerability in letting someone in on, like, you have to make sure that that the bed is made or like, whatever is in your personal space is tidy, because that does have a reflection of you. Like if I saw somebody's meeting space and it was disorganized, then I would automatically assume they're a disorganized person.
Right.
Yep. It goes that old saying, you never notice when someone dusts, but you notice when they don't.
Yes.
Right? So that's kind of some of the reasons. So have you ever gone to a meeting in someone's home? And if you have, how did you feel?
I have actually several times. I've had meetings. My business has always been a home business.
Okay.
But typically my meetings would be at Panera or Starbucks or a library. But I also have clients who work from home. And so I've gone to their homes for meetings. And it depends on the person. If they're comfortable and like confident and like, this is just me and it's all good, then it's great because they're more relaxed. If they're worried and self-conscious, it can be a real drawback though, because they're worried more about what's, oh, I'm sorry, this is messy, and I'm sorry, my dog is over here, and I'm like, it's all fine, like, it's all good, but they're not focusing on what you're talking about as much. So, which is the main distraction of working from home anyway, is that all of the home things, our dogs, our kids, what are the birds doing outside, because they keep building bird nests in my flower pots, all those things distract you.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So it can be uncomfortable from both sides, from the person walking in the door who's not used to giving meetings in someone's home, or the person having the meeting in their home for whatever reason. So with all of these reasons intact, they haven't changed just because of COVID. These reasons for not having meetings in our home haven't changed. They're still, in fact, I think they're worse because kids are not going to school. Husbands are not going to an office. We're all trapped in the same place. So, and now we do have to host these meetings in our home because we don't have choice. So maybe the importance of the images that we're creating will be more clear if I put it like this. So let's say you're going to host a meeting in your home. This is a live meeting, and you invite all your work colleagues to come over. And they ring the doorbell, and you invite them in, and you ask them to have a seat in your living room. They take a seat, and you begin to get down to business. And then your kids run in and sit on their lap. And they sit on your lap, and they try to get everyone's attention. So eventually, you're able to convince your children that they really want to be playing in their rooms, and so off they go. Next up, your teenager. He shows up and demands the car keys because he has to get to work at McDonald's. Eventually, you determine that the living room is more like Grand Central Station and not the best place to hold your meeting. So you get up and you walk your business meeting and all of your work colleagues into the kitchen, because why not? Round table feels more like a meeting room. Unfortunately, at that time, your spouse comes in and decides she has to get dinner going, or you'll never have dinner before that 7 o'clock soccer practice. She's trying to be quiet, or he's trying to be quiet, but pots bang, dishes clang. It is what it is. You notice that your colleagues are getting really distracted. So you say, hey, you know what? Why don't we move into my bedroom? You take them into your bedroom. You climb up on the bed. You rearrange all the pillows behind you to get all comfy. You leave your colleagues standing around looking at you while you get comfortable, and then you can continue the meeting. So does this sound a little bit familiar? Yeah, you've probably never ever experienced a live meeting like this, but you probably have experienced many Zoom meetings just like this. So how do we fix it? Well, first, we take our suspended images back down off the shelf and put them back on. The fact of the matter is that for the unforeseeable future, Zoom meetings, webinar or WebEx meetings or whatever are going to be a fact of our life. And I think a lot of us were hoping that they would be an anomaly and would be similar to what it's like when you call in when you're on vacation. And when you take the meeting on the deck of the condo with the ocean and the waves in the background, so that everybody can be totally jealous of where you are. Or you can get accolades for being such a hard worker that gives up your vacation time for your meetings. But guess what? Seeing you in your jammies with your messy hair doesn't make me jealous. It kind of makes me sad, because you should be working, right? We should all be working. A fellow business coach that you probably do know has a saying that she would use with her clients who were stuck and had to get back on track. Get up, get cute, get out. Until we can get to our actual face-to-face meetings again, we should use a similar mantra. Get up, get cute, get zoomed. In other words, get your game face on. The impressions you're making on your Zoom calls are lasting impressions. So let's talk about another piece of your image that you need to consider when Zooming, and that is your surroundings. So what are people seeing behind you? And does it present the image that you want the world to have of you and your home? Now, we're lucky that we only are talking about this small space, like the width of your camera angle.
Thank goodness. All the time, thank goodness. I won't show you what's over there.
I'm not going to show you what's down here. Yep. So we don't have to clean the whole house before a Zoom call, just this area that the camera will see. So this is something that we should take some thought. So do you want somebody to see the other side of your image? So do you want them to see the personal side of you? Or do you want you to stay consistent with what you've created for the world to see? So do you want them to see your kids' drawings behind you so that they know that you're family oriented? Or do you want them to see photos of you and your family on vacation so they know that you're fun oriented? Would you prefer to keep the family completely out of it and it is 100% business 100% of the time? It's totally up to you and this is an opportunity that we've never had before, right? Because we are inviting people into our home and we can choose exactly what we want them to see and what more we want them to know of us. So we can round out our image with them really easily on a Zoom call that we couldn't do before without dragging your kid along to a meeting. So you may be thinking that a virtual background may be the answer, but at the beginning of this call, we kind of saw the issues with it. Unless you have a state-of-the-art computer and a green screen, a lot of the virtual backgrounds can actually be distracting. So there's someone that I saw on an H7 call who had that beach scene behind him, but it was rolling waves. So it wasn't static, it was actually moving. So talk about getting off track on my mind. I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. I'm going,
Just keep watching it. How did he do that?
I just
no.
on the beach with wherever he was. Yeah.
If he was actually at the beach? Is that possible?
No, it's a virtual background you can download from somewhere because I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a motion one. So state-of-the-art computer, state-of-the-art backgrounds, you can really create distractions that you don't mean to do. Right? That gets the attention off of you and on your background. And unless you want it there, don't do that. All right, there's other backgrounds like what Angel had, where you're kind of emerging out of the background. So I had a call that a friend of mine had her virtual up, and she was sitting in front of it just fine. And then at one point, her husband's face comes out of the background. We did not even know he was there. There were like 16 people on the call, and they all saw his face come out of the background. And it was a world, so it was really freaky. So yes, so if you're gonna use a virtual background, get on with a friend and test it before an important meeting, because it can do some weird things that you don't want it to do. All right, so how are we doing? Are you getting value out of what I'm giving you, out of this information? All right, so let's move on to some camera placement. So imagine that the little light at the top of your camera is your client's eyes. So everyone look at their eyes. Are they below yours? Are they above yours? Or are they level with yours? So eye level on a virtual background has the same impact as it does in person. So if the camera is below you and you're giving them a great view of the underside of your chin, it has the same impact as that old power trick of raising your chair higher than your client's chair. It's a power move. So you are literally looking down at them. And if that's what you want, that's fine. You can play business any way you want. But remember, it's all about the image that you're creating. If your eye level is below the camera, you are looking up at the person on the other side of the lens. Now this puts you in a subordinate position. So just like in a face-to-face transaction, this can have its place, but you need to use it intentionally. There's always a time when you want to make that other person feel more powerful and more of the decision maker in the situation. Then you want to use it intentionally. So finally, if you're eye level with your lens, you're going to be seen as looking directly at the other people. So if you have a laptop, I suggest you find a way to raise it so that you appear eye level. And you can do this with books. There are things you can buy to put on your desk that raise it. So just make sure that whatever you're doing it intentionally, and it's creating the image you want it to create.
Mine's sitting on a photo box.
Yes, there you go. There you go. So how close should you be to your camera? So this is a choice. So I have seen people like right up here. So yeah, they're like in the, so I prefer to show from the waist up but some cameras don't have the bandwidth to do that. And I prefer to be able to do it without making you feel far away. So here's a trick. If you use your phone, and you can do this on some cameras, if you use your phone, a lot of times we want to make the phone straight, like that. But if you tilt it like this, so that the camera is actually closer to you, it's an old photography trick where you can tilt the bottom of the camera away, and this brings your face closer to the camera while showing the rest of your torso, and you don't feel so far out. You don't come off as looking far away. So also, the closer you put your head to the top of the screen, the bigger you look. So, and I'll just do this. So here I am sitting, and my head is just a little, you see just a little bit above my head. If I tilt this up, don't I feel a little further away? I haven't moved an inch, but I've given you so much more background behind me that I look smaller in comparison to the background. So if you tilt your camera so that you're only seeing a little bit above you, you feel like you're closer to the camera. So, and it also shows the rest of your torso. So I like showing my torso because I talk with my hands. If you haven't figured that out yet, then you've turned off your camera. So, and what's happened before is, before I figured this out, I talked with my hands, and eventually, occasionally you'd see this hand like fly up out of nowhere. So this disengaged hand would be up. So when I figured out if I showed my torso, my hands weren't disconnected from my body, and it made more sense. All right, so go ahead and play with the camera until you get the exact image that you want to have. So again, it's totally your choice. All right, so any questions about camera position? Yes, Anne, unmute. There you go.
Do you recommend or see a need for a separate webcam?
It depends on the quality of your camera. So if you've got old hardware, then you may need to get a webcam. I absolutely, and we don't really talk about this today, is there are lights that you can get. They're little round lights that you can put on the top of your camera. I do suggest those for a lot of people. So, and I don't have one. I've got a light above my head and I don't really like it. I want one of those little, yes, there it is. Perfect. Yeah, just what Angel's got. So I do recommend those. they do light your face a lot better. So don't wear hats because that shadows your face, those kinds of things. All right, so now on to body language. Body language on Zoom is exactly the same as it is with face-to-face interactions, with 2 exceptions. In a normal meeting, if there are a number of people at the table, not everyone can see everyone else. So if you're at a rectangle table, you cannot see all the people on the same side as you. You can't see them at all. You can only see the people across from you. In a round table, you can see the people on the other side, and you can partially see the people sitting on your side of the table. So in a Zoom meeting, everyone can see everyone else at all times. And in a normal meeting, you know who's staring at you. On Zoom, you have no idea who's staring at you at any given moment. So make sure that you're portraying the image you want people to remember you by throughout the entire call. So this is like being on your very best behavior for the entire length of the call. Do your best to stay engaged and to look engaged. Turning like this and talking to someone over here, even with mute, or constantly looking out the window, or getting your phone out and doing this, all of these things show you're not engaged. So you may, if you're swaying back and forth, you may be engaged, but this can be seen as being bored. It's actually a comfort thing. We comfort ourselves, and we tend to comfort ourselves when we're bored, or if we're upset. So we rock just to comfort ourselves. But it's kind of when everyone else is looking at you. So if you've got a whole screen of people sitting and you've got one person moving back and forth, your attention goes to that person. So know if you're rocking, people are staring at you. So if you're leaning on your hand, you may be perceived as being beyond bored. And if you're looking at your phone or turned away from your camera, you can be perceived as being completely uninterested, and you should probably just get off the meeting. So here's a trick. Be smart and use the second exception. And that second exception is you can mute yourself, but you can also turn off your camera. So the only other option you have in a live meeting for this is coming up with Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. So this is like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak on Zoom that you don't have as an option on YouTube or on Zoom. So you can turn off your camera. No one knows if you're engaged or otherwise. No one knows if you run to the bathroom. No one knows any of these things. So it's something you can do virtually that you can't see in person. So a little more about body language. On Zoom, you need to use executive body language. So executive body language is a combination of a modulated voice and low-key body movements that are smooth and low over the table. If you use large arm movements, they can be distracting. Also, if you move them too quickly, they can digitalize. So depending on, you never know the type of computer your audience is using. They can be using something really old, so things are going to get really digitalized. So, and that loses, there's a reason that you use large body movements, and it gets lost when they're digitalized. Also, the range and pitch of the volume of your voice. If you get too screechy, you don't know what people's microphones are like, and it can be just really irritating. Yeah, so you only know what your mic is like. All right, so sit in a relaxed but attentive manner. Put your back on the back of your chair, but sit up straight and don't slouch. This just isn't what you want to do. So allow your arms to fall into their natural resting place. So we all have a natural resting place for our arms, and we tend to hold them out when we're up and around. We tend to be up a little like this. So because we're tense, a lot of times we're stressed. So if you roll your shoulders around a couple of times and then just let them fall, they're going to fall exactly into their home. There's a home spot for your shoulders. So just a little point of interest. Women's shoulders fall into home a little bit closer to the front of our bodies because we were actually created to carry. Men's fall home a little bit further back because they were created to lift. So just so men naturally tend to stand a little bit taller than women tend to without thought. All right. Don't sway or rock in your chair. When speaking, look at the camera. This will give the listeners the impression that you're looking right at them. And I know it's difficult, and I struggle with it too, because I want to look at Jennifer, who's down there. And I want to look at Sarah, who's down there. And Nora, who's over there. So I know it's hard, but that if you really want to make eye contact, you need to look at the camera. So make sure that you're creating all of this is to help you make sure that you're creating the image that you absolutely want to create. You have complete and total control over this. So make sure that you're only telling the secrets about yourself and your home life that you want to be told. Your future may depend on it. So thank you very much for your attention today. Does anyone have any questions?
So I have a question, Linda. Would you prefer, in terms of using Zoom and the software, that we be in speaker view, or so that we can look up at the top timeline of who we're actually wanting to speak to?
I think that's totally up to you. I like having everyone on the screen so that I can see everyone's faces, especially when I'm presenting. So I don't want to just see myself when I'm presenting. I know what I look like. So I like seeing the reactions of the people that I'm on the screen with. And sometimes I've noticed, and I've got a really big computer screen because I do photography. So mine sometimes will be across the top, but sometimes they'll be down the side. And I don't know, I can't control that. Zoom just does what it does. So, yeah, it's whatever works for you. Cindy?
But then how are you, if you have all the people on your screen because you want to see their reactions, aren't you looking at the reactions, which means you're not looking at the camera, which means you're kind of looking at everybody and looking kind of around?
Yes.
Or am I misunderstanding?
So tell me, how was mine? Because this is how I'm set up. I have my presentation running across the top of my screen. It's taking up about the top 4 inches. And you guys are all sitting on the bottom of my screen in gallery view. So did you feel I was looking down too often, or did you feel I was looking up more often?
You were looking up.
Yeah, looking up.
I feel like you were looking more in the center, which is better than looking too far down.
Right.
But yeah, if you were looking up at us the whole time, though, I feel like that too could be a little alarming, because it's like you're constantly looking like right at us.
Staring at
That's true too. There can be too much eye contact.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, there can. And that 80-20 second, or the 80-20 rule does matter on Zoom too.
So do you have, if you don't want to tell me one of your secrets, it's okay, but you just said you have the top 4 inches is your presentation. So is that in Word and you just have it back there?
Yeah.
Because I've tried to do that before, and it only, at least maybe it's only my laptop, or I don't know how to do it. It only goes to the side. So I'll have everybody on this side, everybody on this side, and then the presentation here.
And
But it would be better if it would be at the top or the bottom, so you could kind of it would be by the camera, no?
Yeah, so what I did is I took you off of full screen. I took Zoom off of full screen, and I moved it to the bottom of my screen, and then I expanded it until I got it to the height that I wanted. So you are not on the full screen, up in the corner, you can hit that full screen.
Okay.
You're not in full screen, even though you're taking up my whole screen from right to left, because I just expanded it.